Do you know that every hour of every day, of every month, of every year, all the time, you are but a slave? You are nothing, in fact. You listen to a government that you will never know, and that will never care for you. You listen to parents that chose to bring you into a hostile world. You listen to friends who will abandon you at some point. You listen to a lover who does not love you. You listen to siblings that do not care for you. You look at institutions that have nothing to do with you. You think of countries that do not accept you. All of these things are true. So why do you do it? Why do you still follow along? Why do you still play the game? You may answer that yourself, but there is some truth to this. That you do it because A, it seems natural, and B, you have no better alternative. You don't have the strength, nor the ambition to do better. You look at the problems in the world today. Things that would be considered problems, of course. There are no such things as problems because that's a fallacy. Problems are just ideas. Because everything is ultimately just an idea. Only the physical things in our hands, like this knife that I've been holding for several hours, is something that's actually physical. Well, that's something that is, real, if we can call it real. If anything is real. But beyond that, everything else is just a lie. Take one of the greatest lies, for example, money. Money is fake. It is completely fake. And there's nothing real about money at all. Money is just paper. Well, in the past it would be paper. These days it's just numbers, pretty much. There's not really much physical money anymore. But money is just numbers. And of course humans have, over the centuries, turned these numbers and given value to it. But they just given value to it. There is no inherent value in money. On its own, money is useless. If you're out in the wilderness and you need to build something, some pieces of paper aren't going to help you. Money isn't going to do anything. And this goes for anything. Numbers are not real. If you want to see what a number actually is, a number is just a line on a piece of paper. Nothing more. Same with words, letters. Letters are lines, little marks. There are no letters in nature. There are no numbers in nature. You won't go out into the woods and find yourself a number 7 in the wild. Oh, look, I've gone into the woods and they found the number 7. I think I'm going to go. Oh, the fucking light. Fucking piece of shit. No, I'm going to go, hunting for a number 9 today. Or I'm going to go hunting for an E, or an H, or a letter K. No, none of these things actually exist. You won't find that in the natural world. They're just human constructs. But everyone treats them like they're real. Everyone uses money to purchase things. Everyone uses numbers to count, to do things. Everyone uses letters and words to convey their idiotic ideas, which most of the time they should just shut up anyways. But you see, it is all just a fallacy. None of that is actually real. And that is something that people do not realize much. I'm not saying that, one shouldn't use words or numbers. I would be a hypocrite in that case. I'm speaking right now with words to convey information. But people treat it as too real. Treat everything too much. And I always say, you shouldn't, completely not treat life seriously, but you should not treat it seriously, because there's nothing serious of it. You cannot seriously say this piece of paper has so much value that you're going to expend your whole life over some pieces of paper or some numbers or some stupid things like that. That is idiotic shit. And it is completely stupid. And we can go on to other things as well. Because it's not just, government or money or numbers or letters. No. It's everything. Everything can be applied to this. For example, one thing I would like to pick on, because I disdain it, would be romance. Which, to be honest, I find romance is disgusting. I will make a separate video about this topic, but romance is one of the stupidest and dumbest things that humans can possibly do. It's absolutely stupid. Yes, I condemn anyone who's done this. I am not going to be partial to you or whatever, or impartial or whatever. It is stupid. It is a waste of time. It is completely nonsensical to me. Absolutely nonsensical. The same with friends as well. It's nonsensical either. I mean, any sort of interaction is just nonsensical to me. But people treat romance very importantly because, of course, it's something they value in their lives. Well, this here's a little kitchen knife. Not much value, but I'll date this. It's a good knife. Has a very bad edge, but I would date this knife. Anyways, the point being, yes, the point of it is that, of course, these things are still not real. For one, this is not a knife. This is not a knife. This is a handle made of plastic and a piece of metal. And none of those things are real either. There is no plastic and there is no metal. These are just materials that we call this metal, we call this plastic, but really it's just material. It's stuff. Matter. Just like you. Now, as I was saying about romance is treated so importantly. But what actually is it? Well, romance is a chemical reaction in your brain. You're releasing dopamine, you're releasing serotonin, you're releasing oxytocin, so, hormones that stimulate your brain in certain ways. And those connections in the brain, those connections in the brain make patterns, and that is romance. That's all that it is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. There's probably other things, that take place in the brain, but that's basically what it is. Nothing more. Pain. We'll go to pain. Say I took this knife and slit my wrist. Let's not even say the wrist. The wrist is actually relatively painless. I mean, my wrist is pretty thin, so that's probably wouldn't even feel it much. I mean, not that I definitely haven't tried that before. Of course I haven't tried that. Why would I? But, say you lost a leg. Okay, let's make it more severe. your leg was cut off in an accident, and you have pain. But what is pain? It's your nerves sending messages to your brain, that's it. That's it. If you're happy, just hormones. If you're sad, different hormones, or a lack of hormones, that's it. Nothing different. Now, of course, some people say, well, of course, you're conscious. We are conscious. Why are we humans conscious? And that is a fair area of argumentation, because there's no definitive answer. So, and that doesn't mean that consciousness is this important, miraculous thing. I don't see it as that. I see it as a curse. A very terrible curse, but because just because something hasn't been definitively given a explanation does not mean that it is this supernatural thing. But that being said, for the case of consciousness, I cannot give a definitive answer. This is what consciousness is, because that's something that hasn't been discovered yet. There will be in due time. But my belief, we say, theory, and not even really theory, it's just sort of just common sense, but consciousness is just a very complicated set of sensations in your brain. I think of consciousness as the way your brain works. Consciousness is the foundation by which all of the other functions of your brain exist. What I mean by that is, consciousness is a base upon which your other brain functions rely upon, sort of interact with it in that way. That's how they're programmed. But again, I'm no professional at this, but even that's essentially what it is. So it's suffice to say, and this video's getting a bit long now, suffice to say, none of these things are real. No one should be taking life that seriously that they're feeling anything, or feeling heartbreak, or feeling even anger. Anger, I can understand if you're angry at the world, because I am, to be honest. And to be honest, everyone is. And if you're not angry at the world, then something's wrong with you. You have a mental disorder if you do not hate this world, because if you enjoy being in this world, there's something mentally wrong with you. There's an issue with you if you enjoy being here. Something's wrong. But regardless, it is what it is. There's a point when you realize you're just playing the game for the sake of playing the game. But one should never really be taking it that seriously. And it also goes to the point that one should never be afraid to take risks. The worst that can happen to you, most of the time, is that you die. I say most of the time. Being tortured, of course, I'd rather die than be tortured. I think anyone would. But the worst that can happen in most cases is that you die, and that's not really bad. If the worst that can happen to you is that you die, then it's not a bad bet. That's pretty nice. Because if you succeed, you get what you want. If you fail, no need to stress, because you'll be dead. Hopefully. I said I don't want to be tortured or whatever, but you get the point. So when we go to things like government or whatever, I'm not saying overthrow the government all the time, but if it's really as bad as you say, then go ahead and take up arms. If something's really so much of a problem, then go and deal with it. Do not just sit around and complain of something, caring of something that really at the end of the day does not matter. Because all of this will come to an end. And it is pointless. The cosmos will forget us. Humanity will be long gone. And there will still be black holes. There will still be star systems far out there. And one day even they will be gone. And they will be forgotten as well. So, perhaps you feel hopeless after this. And good. I want you to feel hopeless. Because if you do not, then again, something is very much wrong with your brain. Or you're just not aware. Your cognitive functions are not at optimal level. So that will conclude this long rant of mine at 3 in the morning. And